Well, hi there. I've got Nicky from Community Security Trust with me this morning here on Turn to Wisdom, and I'm really pleased to have you here. And Nicky, thank you so much for coming along.
Well, thank you so much for asking me.
No, I'm so looking forward to speaking to you and letting people know what CST do. I've been a fan of CST for years. One of your representatives used to come up and see me when I worked in the police here and would fill me in on all the things. It's amazing the amount of things that you're doing behind the scenes. So I would love people to know what you do, and I'll just hand it over to you there if you would like to tell us.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you and hopefully several other people too. I'm very happy to be here representing CST. So, yeah, I mean, first, I guess a little bit about Community Security Trust and who we are. CST is a registered charity. We look after the UK Jewish community. CST gained charitable status back in 1994. Although its origins lie in many decades of Jewish self-defense, both before and after World War II. We currently providing security at around 650 Jewish community buildings all around the UK, and up to around 1,000 events every year. We do this with the most incredible bank of over 2,000 active, regularly trained security volunteers, as well as over 120 professional staff, again, based around the country. We have given advice to other people. So we've given advice to mandirs, temples, gurdwaras, churches and mosques for years, really. But that kind of all changed in 2019, the horrific attacks on the Muslim community in Christchurch, New Zealand, and then, of course, the Christian community in Sri Lanka, led to CST receiving many requests for help. So we set up SAFE, security advice for everyone. And that's really where my role comes into CST. I'm part of the SAFE program, which was established in 2019 to help those communities in the UK to access some relevant security advice for them. And we do that by sharing CST's decades of security knowledge with groups outside the Jewish community that are vulnerable to violence, extremism, or hate crime. And we have kind of an underlying objective of building community cohesion by bringing people together with just that common goal of keeping themselves, their loved ones, and their communities that little bit safer. Since we started the SAFE program, we've received lots of requests, very close to 2,000 requests for security advice from outside the Jewish community. We've delivered, again, getting close to 1,000 talks and webinars attended by over 25,000 people, representing over 5,000 places of worship and faith schools, as well as loads of other organizations, from police to local authorities, to all sorts of charities and random organizations, as well as, of course, our key focus, which is in places of worship.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. This is the thing. We, as human beings, we have faith, we worship, we have congregations, we have families, we have all the same concerns, don't we?
Absolutely.
We have the same needs in our places of worship.
Yes, we have far more in common than ever divides us.
Yeah, it's so true. But, you know, we've got places of worship, and unfortunately there are extreme individuals out there. It's rare, but we have people who want to harm people. And it's wise for us to have knowledge and training and security, because if it might never ever happen in our neighbourhood, but if it does, then we're ready, aren't we?
Exactly. I mean, you know, we wear seatbelts not because we think we're going to have an accident every day, but to protect us just in case. We have like buildings insurance, so we don't think we're going to need that every day. But again, it's just in case. And security is just the same. You just need to take a few steps just to keep yourselves a little bit safer, just in case that unlikely thing should actually happen.
Yeah. So, from your experience, Nicky, so you don't just deliver training in person, you have got an ongoing rolling programme of online training, which I've attended myself and is absolutely excellent. I've
Thank
learned
you.
loads, it's really great. But secure communication is it's quite a new topic, but it's really key to making yourself look like a hard target, essentially, somewhere that it's probably best to avoid. So could you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Sure. Yes. Security-minded communications is, one of our newer topics. It's all about making little tweaks to the way we sort of put forward our public presence online in terms of denying people, like bad people, information about us, and also actively deterring them from getting involved and coming to see us. So it's all about giving information that shows that you're on the lookout for possible problems. We can do that, for example, by saying you'll be met and greeted by one of our friendly team who, if you're new to our community, will show you where to put your coat and where to sit down. And, that makes any visitors feel really comfortable, which is great. But anybody with bad intentions is going to be like, oh my goodness, I really don't want to be welcomed by anybody. They're going to notice me. I'm not going to go there. Or that's the theory behind it anyway.
No, it's great, and I loved what you were showing us, the kind of best practice. And in one picture we saw, there was a police officer with a sniffer dog going around like the remote parts of a big building, and it was shown, that you've got a good relationship with local police as well. So that
Exactly. I mean, that was one of the high-profile buildings, but anybody can do this. You can invite your community police in, you can invite other community organizations like schools and other places of worship along to have a big get-together. And of course, with their permission, you can take photos and post them online showing that you have strong community links and that you're all looking out for each other. And again, that's the sort of thing that has that sort of double meaning of being really welcoming for genuine visitors, but put off people with bad intentions.
Yeah, because sadly predators are looking to make a big splash, aren't they? And if they're going to be fizzled out as soon as they come near you, they're not interested. Thank goodness.
Absolutely. The last thing they want is to be spotted, and they have a very, very genuine fear of failure.
Yeah, right, great stuff. Well, we'll try and make it as likely that they're going to fail as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Right then, so there's something that maybe not all the organisations are aware of, but Martyn Het's mum, after the Manchester Arena bombing, she lobbied Parliament, and they've actually created a law called Martyn's Law. And I've attended the CST training on Martyn's Law, and it was excellent. You managed to take a massive topic and get it down onto one big sheet of probably A3 paper, but it was all linked, and you could see where the church responsibility or the place of worship responsibility lay. And that's coming up next year, isn't it? So they've made it law, but it's not going to have to be in place until April 2027. But for places of worship watching this, what are the key parts of that, Nicky, please?
Sure. Well, just to reassert a little bit of the background of that, following the tragic attack at the Manchester Arena, if you remember, back on the 22nd of May 2017, the resulting Protect Duty consultation and the Manchester Arena inquiry, the Terrorism Protection of Premises Act 2025, as it's officially called, or known as Martyn's Law, was given royal assent on the 3rd of April 2025. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this, but before I do, let me just say that it's actually still pretty new. It won't come into force, as you said, till at least April 2027.
Right.
And also, it'll be much clearer once the Home Office release their guidance notes to provide more practical and detailed advice, and hopefully some really good examples too. That being said, Martyn's Law affects qualifying premises, and that includes places of worship that from time to time can be expected to host 200 or more individuals, including staff, at the same time. If you only ever have less than 200 people, then you're outside the scope. But if you have more, then in terms of places of worship, it requires the appointment of a responsible person. And that could be an individual, probably a high-up individual with, responsibilities over the building, or it could be the group of trustees or another management group. And they need to take steps to reduce, and I'm quoting from the law here, the risk of physical harm to individuals arising from acts of terrorism. So this responsible person or group must implement public protection procedures to be followed by workers or volunteers if they have reason to suspect that a terrorist attack is occurring or is about to occur at the premises or in the immediate vicinity. So you need to be aware not only of what's going on at your premises, but also just outside. And those public protection procedures, yes, it is a bit of a mouthful, will include evacuation, which we all know about in terms of fire safety. The only thing I'd say is do make sure that wherever you're evacuating to is safer than wherever you're evacuating from. Evacuation, that's bringing people safely into or to safer parts of the premises. Lockdown, that's securing the premises to prevent individuals entering or leaving the premises. And the last of the four is communication, providing clear instructions to remain in place or move away from any danger. So those are the key requirements. They should be appropriate and reasonably practicable. Again, this is another phrase that comes up a lot in the law, which you probably know from like fire safety regulations as well. It's meant to reflect the nature of the premises and the resources that you already have available. I think a key point for churches, who I know funding is a massive issue for, is that the Act does not require physical alterations or the purchase of equipment for the purpose of having those procedures in place. People working and volunteering at the premises, however, must be made aware of the procedures so that they can be ready to put them into practice. So, for example, it's not enough to just have a fantastic evacuation process if no one actually knows how to do it, or perhaps more importantly, no one's ever practiced it. There haven't been any drills. If you don't have a drill, you're not going to be able to spot things that don't work, things that do work, and make any updates that you might need. And everyone needs to be really familiar with it.
Oh, Nicky, that's really clear. That's really excellent. Thank you so much. You...
Good. I just want to also say that this is all talking about standard duty, which is what places of worship fall under. You may have heard of enhanced duty for like bigger fancy buildings and arenas and big events, but places of worship can only ever be standard duty. And any event that you have at a place of worship is an excluded event, so won't have any additional requirements above and beyond this. So even if you have like 10,000 people attending an event at your church, you still only have those basic procedures to worry about. There's no additional responsibility.
Wow, that's fantastic. So it sounds like the government have actually come at this in a really practical way. So they're not expecting places of worship to buy equipment. They're not expecting them to source specific third-party training or anything. They're trying to help people to just continue in business as normal, but
It's
be
not too
prepared.
onerous.
Yeah.
It's really not. I mean, let me just say that we've been giving advice about security long before Martyn's Law, and that probably goes above and beyond the legal requirements of Martyn's Law. And although there are consequences for not complying with Martyn's Law, let me just say that you are very welcome to exceed the requirements. So if you want to do any more security, then you're very welcome to do it. And actually, if you're okay, I've got a couple of hints of those steps that you might take that just go a bit above. Is that okay?
Yes, please. Yeah, I love it.
Sure. I mean, our initial advice would be around access control, really, checking who's coming into the building and that they're not planning to do any harm. You can do this by having people. In fact, we already kind of discussed this in terms of the security-minded communications, having people who can recognize your community so they know who should be coming, and they're familiar with most of your community and congregation already. And then if anybody unfamiliar comes along, just really a hello, hi, how are you? Or a welcome, I don't think I've seen you here before. Where do you usually pray? And just kind of acting on the responses that you get. Also, those people at the door can then very easily shut the door in a hurry if there is actually an emergency. So that, and also the advertising of that, the security-minded communications that I mentioned earlier, those are perhaps a key top tips.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So in terms of security-minded communications, it would be kind of showing that on your web presence, on your social profiles.
Yeah, I mean, we've literally got a whole 1 hour presentation on security-minded communications, if that's of interest to you, coming up actually this month on the 25th. So yes, there's a lot that you can do, and none of it costs a lot. In fact, it pretty much costs nothing. Just a few tweaks to your website, your social media presence can make a huge difference to how you portray security at your place of worship, and how, maybe someone looking at it now might think, oh, it's a bit of a soft target, but making a few tweaks can really change that impression really easily.
Yeah, thank you, Nicky. Oh, wow, this is really, really valuable. So what I'll do is I'll put a link to CST underneath this podcast. But for people who might be listening on Spotify or in their car, how can people who are involved with places of worship, or people who are interested in security for premises, how could they access your e-learning training?
Well, I would love to say that we have a really simple website to follow, and we're actually working on a new website at the moment, so it would be a kind of a watch this space situation. In terms of contact, well, very welcome to contact me, which will be Nicky at safe.cst.org.uk. So Nicky, Nicky at safe.cst.org.uk. A little bit more complicated to do without being able to actually see would be our Zoom hub, where you can find all our webinars. And that is at bit.ly. I don't know if you're familiar with bit.ly. They kind of make the ridiculously long web links a bit shorter. So it's bit.ly/Safe Zoom Hub, where you can find all our webinars. But yes, let's get those links up for people. I'll send them to you, Brian, so that you can make sure they've got the correct details and can hopefully then access all the information that we have available. And of course, we also do in-person talks. Let's not forget that. So we're always happy to come along and see people face to face and do in-person talks on security topics too.
Fantastic. And if you're going to
And it's all free. Did I mention that, Brian? It's all free.
For free?
Oh my goodness.
How
Can't
much
miss
is it
that.
again?
We don't charge for anything
Holy
at all.
moly.
Everything that we do is absolutely free.
It's fantastic, but it's fair to say that CST are recognised by the police and the government and local authorities as being best practice, providing best practice. I think that's fair to say, because you've recently been endorsed by the government. I've seen that on the news and online, which is it's fantastic. But speaking to you, I'm not surprised. because you're very clear and you're very about, it's about what it's about, and it's keeping people safe, allowing people to worship and do community together. So on that point, you will come and speak to people in person, but ideally, in your best day, it would be people from all different faiths, all different, including, if you can, the police and the local authority. So everyone in that community get to become a little bit closer and a little bit wiser together. Is that fair to say?
Exactly. I mean, that's what I said earlier about community cohesion, bringing everybody together. You know, once we realize that no matter what faith we are, no matter what background we come from, all we really want is to go about our business with our families, friends, and communities with a little bit of confidence in our safety. And if we can get everyone together focusing on that, then maybe we'll stop worrying about other things.
Yeah, definitely. And just get along and be pals and support each other. Yeah.
Exactly.
How good is that? Do you know, I've just before we finish, that's fantastic. I think it's a really good taster for places of worship to come and find out a bit more, so they're prepared for April 2027 or whenever it actually comes into place. It's not onerous, but you have to be aware that evacuation, you're probably already doing this under your fire safety. Evacuation is a little bit different, but there's probably a lot of advice on that in America, because they do it as a matter of course now, because unfortunately have school problems, don't they, with people attacking schools.
A lot of information on the Protect UK website as well.
Of course, yeah, there's free government
Yes, there is.
training, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yep, on the Protect UK website, yep. And you can learn about Run, Hide, Tell. So
yes,
if you,
which is still great advice.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah. So there's a lot of free resources out there for you to get ready and get your head round this. Okay, just before we go then, is there what would you be if you had like one thing to tell to people, that your best piece of advice from your experience, Nicky, which is obviously vast and brilliant, what would you tell us?
Ideally, shut the door. If you can't shut it, make sure it's not unattended.
Fantastic. On that note, that is a fantastic piece of advice. I love it. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me.
And thanks for all you do. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Take care, Nicky.
Thanks, Brian, and you.